Why do 90% of hackers swear by CounterSurveil? Let's dive in and find out. In the labyrinthine world of cyberspace, every click leaves a trace. But with CounterSurveil, you become the unseen. Our podcast takes you deep into the heart of hacking, where firewalls crumble and secrets unravel. From white hat heroes to shadowy code warriors, we cover the spectrum. Join us on Iron Geek, your portal to mastering the art of stealth and strategy. Discover the tools, the tricks, and the tales that define the modern hacker. Tune in and transform from a curious novice into a digital legend. This is CounterSurveil. Unmask the unknown.
Tune into the sound waves, secrets of the dark maze, dark codes in the nighttime, information, gold lines. We're free in the spotlight, shining through the late night. Smart contracts are lying, auditing, verifying. CounterSurveil in my ear, security we engineer. Learn the truth, don't disappear. CounterSurveil, we're right here. Crypto dreams and data streams. Listen close, it's closer than it seems. Fix the flaws, see through the smog. CounterSurveil, join the blog.
Greetings and salutations. I'm your host, Havoc, here with Sledge. This week, we are going to be talking about these bad job postings that are all over LinkedIn that don't actually have any jobs associated with them you can actually get under a broad category that is called ghost jobs. Sledge, why don't you give a little feedback here?
Even some of them I've noticed ask for your social security number and stuff, like over email, and I'm just like, this seems fishy.
Sure, that does seem fishy. I mean, there's a lot of speculation as to why these are happening, but the solid facts that we do know is that there was this study that was put out not too long ago that kind of covers a lot of these metrics. And when you look into it, a lot of people who work in the industry putting out these job postings have admitted, like 47% have admitted to putting up fake job postings for one reason or another. That's nearly half. Now, this actual number they say of bad job postings are 1 in 5. So, like, what's that, 20%? Mm-hmm. Still, I mean, ish. Yeah. So, like, there should be legal consequences for this. I mean, you're wasting people's time. You're taking their data. There's no actual job a large portion of the time. I think a lot of them are doing it so they can qualify for federal incentive programs. They give them money for being a company that's actively hiring when they're not actively hiring. So it's outright fraud in a lot of the cases.
A lot of cases, it feels like they're trying to fulfill a quota, right? So they'll go through and say, hey, I interviewed X amount of people. And then, like, I had an experience where I got hired, and then a couple of weeks later, they stole all of my IP that I gave them, and then they turned around and said, hey, we can't afford you. Sorry, shouldn't have even hired you to begin with.
And that's a good example of the effery that kind of goes on. They had you put together an entire plan on how to fix their stuff with the assumption you're going to be the one who's doing it. You give them the software that they need. You give them what's missing in their stack. And then they're like, okay, goodbye. You can't even keep the laptop we gave you. Messed up. And look, so it's false advertising, which alone is against the law in a lot of states. You can't put up for a job that doesn't exist. It's false pretense. It's manipulation of the public perception. Even if you're just trying to attract candidates, if you're doing it under false pretenses, that's bullshit and you shouldn't be doing it. Now, why are they getting away with it is kind of the question. So there's no specific federal law that directly prohibits making a fake job posting. So while companies can face some scrutiny from regulatory bodies like the Equal Opportunity Commission, if their practices are deemed discriminatory or deceptive, that doesn't mean they're going to get any kind of monetary damage or any issues from just doing this repeatedly. It's not like people are reporting them to Equal Opportunity Commission. And by the way, I'm not even sure that even exists anymore with all the stuff that's been going on lately. It's
proving that it's fake would also seems like a an uphill battle. Like, how would you prove that it was fake?
Right. I mean, what I think is the way they should modify some of these laws, especially the ones that are giving them financial incentives, so that when a fake job posting is put up, that's fine. You can put up your fake job posting, but you're not going to get any money if you don't end up actually hiring anybody as a result of the advertising you're doing on LinkedIn and all these other places. If you have a job posting up and you're using that to justify some expenses as far as saying like, hey, we are hiring actively and that entitles us to money from this federal grant program and this thing and that thing, you shouldn't be able to claim that money unless you can prove definitively that you've hired X amount of people to meet the satisfactions of that. Like that should be a thing. Like
that would make sense. That would be a good one.
Rather than just trust. I mean, if the only thing that they're accepting is the fact that there were job postings made and there's a trail of people who are interviewed, that's not enough. That reminds me of half the people I knew who were on unemployment benefits when I was in the system, who would literally just collect a check and then go and claim they filled out applications for X, Y, and Z job that they never filled out and just get to keep collecting benefits because they're showing that they're applying for jobs and they never go check.
Yep.
It's the same kind of shit in reverse. So if you're going to get money as a result of saying you're hiring, you should freaking be hiring, for one, and two, make it verifiable. So,
and then some of them, like I said, I swear are scams.
They're definitely
you
not.
Shouldn't. The first
Dude, I saw one
email. Go ahead.
I saw one the other day for a security engineer. It was like very entry level requirements, and they were paying $400,000. It was like, dude, I make good money. I don't make $400,000 a year, especially not with that entry level set of skills. That was literally just a place collecting resumes for some reason. I mean, there's no way in hell that was a real job posting.
It just always throws me off. Like, if you're doing an interview or like going, let's say you find a job posting and you say, hey, I'm interested. They hit you back. If the first email, they want your social or your driver's license and stuff like that, get out. That's a trap.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, once you're actually, you also should never be submitting your social security number over an email. They should have some kind of portal set up that looks at least official in some capacity. You should never be shooting your email over, like SSN over an email. You know how many like ways along that hop before it gets to its final destination that can be snooped on? That's just a really stupid thing to do in general.
Yeah.
Like, not that your social security number isn't already leaked and out there in a million different databases, including the National Public Data Breach, which was a data broker who just resold everybody's information that they shouldn't have had access to in the first place. Then they got,
which I appreciate. Very useful.
I appreciate it too for OSINT, but that's a little different. You know, it's a bit crazy than what we've gotten to here. We also got North Koreans using deep fakes as they're applying for jobs, and then another person completely shows up for the job on day one, and like they will literally mask their face during the interview with the equivalent of a Snapchat filter, but better tech that's in real time changing their face to somebody else's. And like the person you're interviewing as an interviewer might not even be the person who's going to show up for the job. Like, what do you do in that situation? You hire somebody, you go through the background check, and then somebody else completely shows up day one. Do you call them out? If you call them out, what happens if you're wrong? You know, you got to be 100% right. So it's like kind of crazy. And this greenhouse study is the one that came out kind of talking about these ghost jobs. And so there's a bunch of reasons like why they do this according to the study. Like 40% of hiring managers admitted to posting ghost jobs, often to monitor market conditions or improve their company image.
Oh, they admitted to it. Okay.
40% admitting to it's pretty good. You know, if only 40% are admitting to it, I'd imagine the actual number is pretty high. So I imagine a lot of people interviewed would not admit to doing something like that. And like, look, this is soul crushing for job seekers. You're wasting your time and your resources. You're investing your time when you're not getting paid into a job that does not exist. They're distorting the economic indicators to making it seem like there are more job opportunities than there actually are. And that skews a whole bunch of other things as well, as far as the metrics we use to measure the job market and how good things actually are. So like, I think this could lead to incorrect policy decisions and like a lack of support for those who truly are in need, just because these companies are being greedy wanting to collect money from these programs when they're not actually hiring. It's kind of a scam bait, as hackers. I mean, there's certain things we can do in this scenario. Like I've submitted 2 jobs and I put canaries in like Word documents when I've submitted them, not for jobs I actually want, mind you, just to see like where it's actually getting opened and who's looking at it. And like sometimes if you upload like a PDF to some of these portals, you look at the IP address. If it's not Zscaler, which it really should be if you're in a corporate environment, like some kind of solution like that. If you're seeing like Bangladesh, India for a job in New Jersey, is the person looking at the resume?
Yeah.
Something's a little off. And like I get some of them use the cheapest recruitment places that they can find. And these dudes have databases of stuff they've scraped off LinkedIn and other job boards, and they'll reach out over email. Those are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your average posting on like LinkedIn that supposedly is made by the company itself. And that's like I've seen like opened in Russia, opened in China. It's really odd that these things would be getting opened along the way in those places. Now, I can account for AV scans, stuff like that, maybe being geographically outside of the expected place. But I mean, it'd be really interesting to kind of apply to like the top 100 paying InfoSec jobs on LinkedIn with a new LinkedIn account and a nice little resume that matches all their requirements, and seeing with a canary in each one of those where they actually open that file. Because I bet out of the top 100, maybe 5 are real. And
I kind of want to try that now.
Let's do it. We'll do it and update the next cast. I mean, it shouldn't take that much legwork between the 2 of us and the automation shit we know. So
yeah,
man. I mean, we can easily put together the resumes to match the whole thing. So let's fucking.
And then let's do it. But to piggyback on one of your points, though, like I have had a couple jobs, potential jobs, fall through my fingers because it was one of those foreign recruiting agencies, like in India or something, and I couldn't understand what the lady was saying. So I was just like, whatever, sure, I'll fill this out, yada yada, and then at the end of the day, we can't really speak to each other.
Yeah,
and then it just fall apart.
The person they're picking to hire for these positions has no idea what the position actually is, and just spitting out a bunch of jargon buzzwords. It's like that's your gatekeeper layer 1. Like if anybody should know what the actual job entails, it should be the person who's making the posting. Like I remember a few years ago, there was this dude who was very pissed off. He'd written a JavaScript framework, and it was very popular. And an employer wanted somebody with like 5 years experience in this JavaScript framework. Now, this is the author of said framework, and he was rejected from the job application because they wanted 5 years in a framework he made 2 years ago. It's not literally possible. It's like you can't meet that requirement. It didn't exist then. And this kind of shit, like with recruiters wanting 20 years into technology that came out 5 years ago, is fairly common because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And the way that they measure how much experience you have is usually by how many years. So if you say you want an expert in something, they're looking for somebody with 10 years experience and something that's only been out 2 years. It's like, it's a shit show on the boards, man.
And kids, this is why you lie on applications.
Look, I have nothing wrong. I see nothing wrong with exaggerating your skill set a little bit on a resume. It's one thing to play up your experience, maybe look like you did a little bit more than you did. It's a whole nother thing to just fabricate your resume completely and not have done any of the things that are on there. It's like, I see that too, man. I hire, I get people who apply to my shit, and like, man, I get some stupid things in there. Like in terms of people who have not even read the job description. Like also when we were doing a summer internship at my nonprofit, man, it literally said right in the listing, this is an unpaid internship. And like the first 30 things we got were all people looking for a paid internship. It's like, do you even read before you reply? It's nuts, man.
What's the craziest exaggeration you've seen?
There was a guy claiming for this network position that he had 30 years in Cisco devices and yada, yada, yada. And he was like maybe 35 years old. and is like, so you've been working on Cisco since you're 5. Like, that is a really impressive 5-year-old to be working on a Cisco device when you're 5 years old.
It's like you can't even claim you had a Switch back then because the Nintendo Switch wasn't a thing.
Exactly. ZM0 has posted in the comments, I'm a security expert because of Iron Geek. Thank you, Adrian. Hell yeah, thank you, Adrian. Adrian's the freaking man. I am also pretty good at security due to all the crap that he has put on this channel over the years. Like, a lot of people go out to InfoSec conferences. I'm really surprised he was the first one who's like, maybe somebody should record this and put it online so that other people can see it who aren't here. And then because of him, we have a whole bunch of cons that are getting recorded now. He never really gets that acknowledgement, and he really should. Because, you know, otherwise we might still be dealing with paywalled talks, where if you want to access the stuff after a conference, you have to pay. And it's like, it really should be free. Like, it's one thing to pay to go to a conference or get paid to go to a conference. Like, I talked at Wild West Hacking Fest. I'm getting $500 for it. That's pretty freaking cool. I had to spend more than that to get a hotel and flight, but at the same time, it really offsets the cost of going to a con. And dude, I had a great time. The 303 guys alone, dude, this guy Kaz blew my mind at how smart this dude was. Like, I was like, I'm used to being the smart guy in the room, and I'm just hearing this guy talk several different technologies. And I'm like, how the hell does he know so much about so many different things? It's like, I like to think I'm an index. This dude like blew me out of the water. If I'm an index, he's the whole freaking encyclopedia. And like other guys there too, man, like really smart. But it's awesome to go to a con and meet really cool people. Like, it just is, it's an experience I really think anybody who's in InfoSec should go and do. Because it's one
Any
thing.
con.
Yeah, man. InfoSec cons being the best ones in my opinion, but I've been at cons for other shit too. I've snuck into cons for other shit too. But at the end of the day, it's like you're never going to get the same experience as having a conversation with an expert in a given topic, a guy who's built a tool that you're going to be using every day. Being able to talk to that guy in person, like reach out and touch him if he says that that's okay. You know, it's weird, but it's a whole nother level of experience you just don't get from watching webinars, watching casts. You can't replace in person for like the kind of shit you're doing here, man. It's just not.
And
the same.
Speaking of that, didn't you have dinner or something with Jimmy 2 times?
I did indeed. Me and Jimmy had a good dinner, good conversation. Dude, Jimmy 2 times is the nicest motherfucker.
I know, dude.
I hope he doesn't mind. He put together a PDF for me of stuff from the con that had my name on it and things. It was like the nicest. I've never had anybody just reach out and do that before. And it was like blew my mind. I'm going to go find that and fucking put it in here. Dude, that is such a thoughtful thing to do. And yeah, man. So they had an electronic badge too. Pretty nice one. You know, not to say that people didn't copy it, but it certainly made it more difficult for those who did. And
I have not seen that online yet. I guess I wasn't looking.
Well, it hasn't been online yet. It's something you had to experience if you were there. But it'll be online in a second because I'm about to pop it up. So let's do a right click and then open with Foxit, I guess. And then present, share screen, window, Foxit.
Perfect time for my mouse to die. Some bitch.
Nah. She got a touchscreen. This is the first thing on the slide he put together for me. So the Wild West Hacking Fest, in person and virtual, Denver, Colorado. And then you have my little about me and like the time my talk was going to be and when it was actually. It's nice they stayed on track. Then you go like, here's my talk title, Social Engineering My Way into Conferences, which I did because you recommended it when we were joking about doing that and how no con would accept it. So thank you for that. And I got you back by putting your video from DEF CON of Bang My Cock in my presentation and making everybody watch it live.
Two people sent me videos. Two people in the crowd sent me videos of that.
Great. So I got to do that. So this is what the real badge looks like, right? Pretty detailed,
Sweet.
nice badge. And then let's see. This is the fake one that somebody made. That was pretty damn good, you know. And then he actually did responsible disclosure and showed them. And then somebody, I'm not going to say who, populated one of those fakes with the same screen and some buttons, and a lot of it being held on by tape. But hey, it works. And look, nobody noticed that, and this person was able to walk around the con unbothered, you know.
Hell yeah.
That's pretty damn good, I would argue, for like real to fake. I mean, it's a little blurry, right? But if I were working the door, I certainly wouldn't question this one.
It's about as good as the guys that faked their way into the sock at DEF CON. That was just a printout.
Yeah, there's me on stage at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was really surprised as many people showed up as they did. Oh, and dude, night before, I'm out drinking, right? And I left my laptop at the bar because I got a little too drunk. And these really cool people from both 303 and some not from there were nice enough to come with me back to the bar, find said laptop, and make sure my talk went off without a freaking hitch, which was pretty damn cool, man. It was very nice of them. And, like, dude, it's blown away by how nice people are sometimes. Because, like, I can imagine I might be like, no, it's 3 a.m. I don't want to go back to the bar and go look for your laptop. This might very well be what I would say. But these guys were like, yeah, man, let's go. It'll be an adventure. It's freaking great. So there's me on stage. Look, I'm wearing my freaking SummerCon staff T-shirt. And actually, I look pretty slim, man. I'm like, yeah, losing some weight here over, like, not too
Wait,
bad.
holy shit, that's you?
That's me, man. That's me up on stage.
Yeah, you're looking good. What the fuck?
Not bad. It was like, and you put, these are the people who helped me out, dude. That's DB, and that's other people. I forgot this chick's name. She was pretty awesome. She's a tattoo artist, and this chick's a SOC analyst, and also she's almost as tall as me, which is pretty rare. She's a cool chick. Yeah, man, these dudes just all came with me, went and helped me get my shit, and it was really awesome. So,
hell yeah.
Like, successful talk. Otherwise, I would have had to go on with a version of my slides that didn't have the memes in them. And you can't give a good talk without a few memes mixed in to illustrate your points. So, yeah, I was really happy. It worked well. And, oh, look, Joe's saying, that was Sledge. Legend. Yes. Joe is a sysadmin. I met him. I'm going to be sending him an NFC version of his business card he gave me. Like,
nice.
Cool dude. Yeah, dude. So, yeah, I had a blast.
One of the guys that was recording that when you played the Bang My Cock thing, he sent me it and he was like, I'm not in this video, am I? It was that guy that was begging me to not post him publicly, and I was like, nah, dude, I already scraped your shit from everything.
Nah, hopefully he wasn't in one of the ones you sent me I put in the video. Anyhow, dude, it was great. I had a blast. Getting back to our core topic this week, these bullshit jobs, right? Look, a lot of us, even of those of us who are gainfully employed at the moment, are out there looking to see if there's something better. And when you, as a company, put out a job that doesn't exist and waste my time, you're wasting my lunch break. You're wasting, like, especially if you then interview for a job you have no intention of hiring for. Dude, I had this one company. I went on 4 interviews with them during my lunch break over the course of 2 weeks, only for them to then tell me I interviewed really great. Unfortunately, they no longer have funding for the position. Really? So you spent all this time putting a position out there, interviewing somebody, and now you don't have funding for it? What happened in 2 weeks? You know, it's like
I see it all the time, and it's just like, are you that disorganized with your budget to where you think you can hire somebody and then decide at the last minute you can't afford it? Or is it just a freaking scam?
I think it's sometimes I can argue it can be legit. Like maybe you thought you had more in the budget, you got hit with like a renewal for CrowdStrike or something, you didn't expect. Maybe it was upping in a price of some product. But those things should really be budgeted for ahead of time. Like if you're a big enough company, you should have a department that deals with just that shit, like accounts payable, receivable. Somebody should be dealing with it. When it's a smaller company, like maybe 15 guys, if you say you can hire somebody and you're putting out a freaking job post for a position, you should be hiring for the damn position. It's arguably bullshit not to.
Yep.
And for those of you who are wondering where other people are this week, Altkey needed some sleep, and CrowdStrong is dealing with some shit. He'd not appreciate me repeating, but needless to say,
we can't play the song.
You know, we could probably play the song.
We should play this song.
We'll play the song.
Flat tire hit a deer. I was like, that should be a country song.
That should. Well, it is now. Let me find it in my freaking library. And then we'll do a little present, share screen, Chrome tab, Suno, and then
rolling down the highway.
Guys, this version. This one's better.
Rolling down the highway, dark and cold. Got a call from Dallas, news that stole my soul. Sudden plans and heavy heart to bear. Last night's luck just left me stranded there. Blew a tire, skidded off the lane. Hit a deer, couldn't see through the rain. This road's no friend, just keeps pushing me back. Crowd strong, can't make the cast. I can't stay on track. Last night's luck, it left me stranded here. Side of the road feels just like a year. Every mile's a battle, can't seem to win. Gas station coffee, my only friend. Got a broken bumper, got a broken heart. Dead-end dreams before they even start. Life's got a way of knocking you down before you can even get up off the ground. Tried to call for help, but there's no one near. Small town silence, only thing I hear. Gotta push through, gotta find a way. Dallas waits for me at the break of day. Your phone's running dead and my hope's running thin. Night wind's cold and it seeps in my skin. Texas moon's bright, but it don't light my path. Trailing misfortune like I'm running from the wrath.
I think that's enough of that.
I love it.
It's fun.
Need to make one about me breaking my foot.
Dude, I photoshopped your face onto some guy breaking his foot already. That's enough teasing you about breaking your foot. You know? I also found that video of somebody doing something similarly dumb on a bike and breaking their fucking leg. And I think I played that for you a few times and made fun of you for it. I've razzed you enough over that. You can razz yourself at this point.
Yeah. But I was going to make a comment about Adrian and his work he's been doing in the industry.
Go ahead, man.
Ever since, like, I started in 2009, and, well, I started college in 2009. And back then, that was, like, my first time, like, actually experiencing fast internet. And then there's this YouTube thing, and I was like, oh, cool. So as I'm at college, I'm starting to watch every freaking video Adrian was pushing out, and it was super helpful. And then I took that idea when I got more established in my career. So a good example would be I was recording videos at like CCDC and InfoSec meetup groups at KSU. So I got my little camcorder with it's got like the normal camera and then a side camera. So I'd have one focusing on the speaker and one focusing on the slides. And I was kind of trying to do it Adrian style. So he was kind of my motivation for that.
Yeah, man. I actually tried to do that counterparty conference Adrian style. I did help him a few times with like random AV stuff over the years. But like trying to get that just right on the fly is a lot of work, you know, especially if you don't have the right adapters and cables and things to make it work right. Arguably, I think I did a pretty good job overall, but some talks definitely had some issues. And I put it up on Iron Geek, though, in the live section, so it's up there if anybody wants to watch it. It's a crypto bro conference, though, so it's not necessarily security. But close enough. Intersects a lot, you know?
Yep. I went all out with my setup, man, like wireless mics, because since I'm a live audio guy, been in a band forever, I've got basically every piece of gear you can imagine. So I'd have like wireless mics and then transmits to a DAC or whatever, and then recording to the computer, and then I'd go back and splice that in with the video later. Like it got pretty complex, but it was awesome.
Yeah, man. And I had nearly 3,000 people watching the live stream between the different places it was going out to. And it was like really, like people were commenting on like the AV quality and shit. And I was like, I'm doing my best with what I got on hand, you know? And we went out, we bought like a different lavalier mic and different other stuff for the second day to try and get the recordings a little bit better. And definitely audio was better second day. But I mean, if Adrian hadn't started this shit, like, I really see all this content just being behind paywalls for individual conferences. If he
or just not even recorded at all.
Right. Or like only available to attendees, and then people have to trade it like file sharing sites, you know?
Yeah.
Is set the bar, man. And I don't think a lot of people who are like new know that shit. Like, dude was kind of a legend. Still is a legend, arguably. Working.
Yeah. First time I met him, I fangirled all over him.
Yeah, man. So, respect your elders, youngins.
That's right.
Get off.
We are standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah, and those shoulders, man. He used to be the Iron Geek. Now he's just Hike instead. But either way, those some cool shoulders to stand on. And dude, what was your favorite conference you ever went to?
TorCon.
What set that one apart from other conferences for you?
Meeting Mike Osmond in person and partying with him. That was fun.
Dude, one of the 303 guys looks just like Mike Osmond and constantly gets mistaken for him at security conferences, and he's given up saying he's not him. He just plays along now.
It was funny. We were having we were at some penthouse or something in San Diego with like, I don't know, 30, 50, I don't know how many people were there, but we all had Nerf guns. We're going to have this crazy Nerf gun war, and he's sitting in the middle just playing the piano as all these darts are shooting around. That was fun.
Yeah, man. I remember at Hope one year, me and the Tool New York City guys were doing this thing where we had a lockpick challenge where we had multiple bags locked inside other bags. So you have to pick the lock on the first bag to get into the next bag, and then pick the lock on that one. And then if you got all of them open, you got a Nerf gun, and you had to shoot the target. And you had 3 bullets, and if you missed the target, you had to start all over to get the next Nerf gun to try again. And dude, arguably, I raked most of those locks and shouldn't have been able to get them open because I didn't pick them the way you normally would pick them. But it worked with a little Bogota. And I got them open. I get to the Nerf gun. I shoot. The first one, it hit the target but didn't stick and fell off. And it like doesn't count. I try again. Boosh. 2 up. Too low. I try picking again. By the time I get the damn thing open again, somebody had already hit the target and won. But it was a lot of fun. And like gamifying stuff like that really freaking makes it much more fun for people. So whenever you can, if you're doing something at a conference, gamify that crap. Make it a competition.
We do that at the RTA Village, Red Team Alliance, during DEF CON. So there's a little conference that happens. I believe it's invite only. I'm not sure. But about 100 people show up, and we have like competitions of who can open, like, use an under the door tool the fastest, and who can copy a key the fastest.
For like 10 minutes and not getting it. And people just waiting for their turn. And I was like, Sledge, you gonna get that anytime soon?
I was too drunk, man. I was like, I'm tired. I've been working all day.
Fun, though. Dude, you know they make under the door tools now that have little built-in cameras like this sucker right here that's meant for like picking earwax out of your ear.
Yeah, dude.
Freaking shit onto an under the door tool so you can actually see where it's going, which is just mind blowing.
And then they got these ones now that like fold up and you can like put in your pocket instead of folding it up and cramming it into your backpack.
I know, man. There's one that Deviant has in his belt. He freaking made it fit in the belt. He had like one of those belts that has a zipper, and he shoved the whole damn under the door tool in there. Shit's cool, man.
Yep. Good times.
Good times. So Joe had a question. Are these legit long-term big name companies that are doing this to get the market data? I mean, yeah. It's like, dude, they do this to aggregate and understand what other companies are doing. So if you have resumes from all the people who would apply for a job you might open up for real in the future, now you know what they're making at their current job, for instance, at least what they claim they did on your application. You know, what technologies they're used to working with. So like it could be a good way, arguably, not from my perspective, but from a company's perspective, to gather intelligence about a role before you actually really make it open and see what kind of people are going to apply to it before you're ready to hire. So when you actually do hire and open it up for real, you've already got a good candidate pool of people who are looking for jobs. People, you know, like what the skills are that are expected are if it's a job that maybe you haven't hired for before.
I'd be curious if they sell that data to anybody else. Like, do they trade that between companies? Like, is there
probably, dude, they collude. There's no doubt in my mind they collude. Like, a lot of them are probably using like these different job portals that are out there. Like, I imagine the portals themselves that give like free access to companies to post your shit other than LinkedIn. They're arguably probably colluding and like scraping that data and reselling it. Like I've gotten calls and like emails for jobs that I have only put on like one message board with an address from like 4 years ago. And like they call me up looking to fill a position. And I'm like, how do you even have that version of my resume? I made that for one job 4 years ago and posted it to their message board for their job posting. And you're a completely different company, but you've got this version of my resume that has that address I lived at for a month on it. And like, I know which jobs I applied to with that resume. You've got it. And it wasn't that job. So they definitely collude. There's no doubt in my mind on that one.
Yep. They're probably making money on that too, selling data to each other or whatever. Or putting it into a feed.
I was mind blown when I found out that all the real estate companies were colluding on the freaking prices of houses. I mean, that essentially, like, if I'm going to do a listing of a house on MLS, multiple listing service, as a real estate agent, before I make that listing, they look at what other houses are like listed for, and they will not set it lower than like the baseline for the neighborhood, which I always knew was the case. But it goes like a step beyond that, where they're essentially price fixing markets now. And there was this one company that got sued because that's all they were doing was price fixing, essentially being like, oh, find out what the true value of a property you're listing is worth and make sure that it doesn't sell for less than that by essentially doing the same thing the gas stations do. You know, like, we're going to set the price to this and that's what it's going to be. And nobody else can set it lower. You know, it's
yeah, when it comes to some things, value is not objective. It's more like supply demand, and that's what they're taking into consideration, which also becomes easy to exploit.
Absolutely. And look, a lot of people are going to move around the same times of the year every year because their lease is going to be up around the same time of the year. They aggregate that data so they know when its market demand is going to be higher, and they set the price higher accordingly. So if a lot of people move in the summertime and that's when their lease expires, guess what? Rents go up a lot in the summertime because supply and demand. It's kind of crazy, man, but it is what it is. It looks like Delchai might be joining us. I see him messaging somewhere a lot. Join the cast, Delchai, in the meme group. He's like, I got time to post memes, but I'm not going to be in the freaking cast. What are you doing, man?
See where his loyalty is.
Where's your loyalty? It's to the memes. The memes are loyal.
My meme cannons are loaded. We're good.
You got it, man. You got to load up and fire that meme cannon all over the place. Dude. So back to the main topic of the cast. These freaking shitty ass job postings for fake jobs and why this is happening. I'm going to pull up this study from Greenhouse so we can go over it in more detail. Just give me a second to find it. You stall while I do that.
Do I eat your salad?
That was not good stalling. You could have done better than that. I give you no points. Shame on you.
Where the rules are made up and the points don't matter. Welcome to CounterSurveil.
You ever see the Billy Madison thing, the speech? After he gives the speech in school, the dude's like, I award you no points. Everybody in the room is dumber for having listened to that. Yeah. Autumn quotes that at me fairly regularly whenever I say something really stupid, which is almost every day nowadays. Let's see.
If I could have that memorized like to the T, I'd be a really good manager.
I disagree. It's probably not things a manager should say, although it would be funny. What was it? I can't find it. Oh, because I'm on ChatGPT and I did it in Perplexity when I did my initial search. That's why I can't find it. Hey, admit whoever just popped in there. I'm not on the tab.
Yeah, that's Delchai.
Hells yeah.
And admit.
Hey.
About time.
Yeah, well, you know how it goes.
Dude, so we're talking about the fake job posting shit on LinkedIn and other job websites where people post these ghost jobs that don't really exist, so they can either gather up resumes or get money from these federal programs that incentivize companies that are actively hiring, or God knows why else the heck they do it. Well,
there's some other reasons. There are HR reasons why they do it too. This happens a lot in government jobs where they have a position where legally they're required to advertise it for X many days, even though they already know who they want. They've already picked who they want. It's an internal move, but legally they have to advertise the job, and people apply and they go, "Oh, thanks, but we need someone who doesn't pick their nose, or we need somebody who's taller or has this or has that." When they already know, they've already got somebody picked.
Yeah, that's what I meant by when I said quota. It's like sometimes they have to fulfill that quota.
Oh, quota is a whole other ballgame. Quota is we have to have X many people with wooden legs. I'm talking about like an internal move. You promise somebody a promotion. The only way they can get a promotion is if there's a job opening. The only way you can get a job opening is if you go through procedure. Procedure says you have to advertise it for 2 weeks. That's not a quota. That's just bullshit politics. Quotas, that's like you got to hire a guy in a wheelchair, and then I go, "Hey, waha, rock and roll, bring it." And then they go, "Oh, damn, it's him."
Well, I mean, I guess to rephrase what I mean by quota is like X amount of, I guess we were talking about this earlier, like they're trying to get, I don't know, government subsidies or something, and they got to promote like, hey, we're hiring X amount of people.
Call it what it is. Actually. Okay, we had this at one government place we worked at. You had to have X many Hispanics. You had to have Y many Native Americans.
Oh, I'm not going down that route.
They have those quotas. Those exist. They're real.
That's not the route I'm going with this. It's more like job openings. Like,
so So there are federal grants available to companies that are actively hiring in different geographic areas. So like say I'm a company in Hoboken, New Jersey, and I need more money to hire people. And I am advertising a job actively for a bunch of jobs. There are federal grants I can go apply to that would offset some of the cost of not only advertising those jobs, but even like some of the initial hiring costs from these federal grants that are funded oftentimes by federal money that are designed to stimulate the economy. And like they apply for this shit, they get it, but then they don't actually hire anybody. They just show the evidence that they're advertising jobs, and they'll even go through the trouble of interviewing people, but then not hire anybody. Is kind of the quota we were talking about.
Yep.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Not to say that the other quota stuff doesn't exist. It's just that's not what we were talking about.
Also, when I was around in government stuff, there were a lot of lawsuits surrounding that kind of thing. I saw people who they weren't even skilled enough to use a paper straw, and they sued because they said they were being discriminated against, and they ended up getting the job, even though they couldn't actually do the job. They got it.
I mean
that stuff is real. It happens, but it's not as rampant as everyone's led to believe. Not as rampant as people like to believe it is, but it is out there and it is bad.
So
when it matters,
video to put
it
together
matters.
like a quick summary of the
Indeed.
So I'll share that. Hopefully you guys let me know if the audio is working on this when I try to share it.
This week in CounterSurveil Podcast, why are there not more people
audio works
about ghost jobs?
Sort of.
Job market
It's through your speaker though.
Filled with turns and dead ends. But a new, more insidious threat lurks within its digital corridors: ghost jobs. These phantom listings, promising opportunity but delivering only disappointment, are becoming increasingly common, leaving job seekers frustrated and infuriated. Imagine spending hours meticulously crafting the perfect resume and cover letter, only to be met with deafening silence. This is the disheartening reality for many navigating the job market today. The prevalence of ghost jobs is infuriating. A recent study by Greenhouse revealed that nearly 1 in 5 job postings are, in fact, ghost jobs. These listings are not tied to actual open positions and serve no purpose other than to deceive and mislead potential applicants. This phenomenon transcends industries, impacting sectors like construction, arts, and law, with alarming frequency. This essay delves into the murky world of ghost jobs, exploring their nature, motivations, and consequences. We'll hear from those directly affected and examine the broader economic implications of this growing trend. More importantly, we'll explore potential solutions to combat this issue and advocate for a more transparent and ethical job market. What exactly constitutes a ghost job? Simply put, it's a job advertisement for a position that doesn't exist or isn't actively being filled. These deceptive listings often mimic legitimate job postings, complete with detailed descriptions, enticing benefits, and even salary ranges. However, behind this facade lies a void, a black hole where genuine hiring intention should be. The Greenhouse study, a comprehensive analysis of the current job market landscape, paints a stark picture of the pervasiveness of this issue. The study found that a staggering 18 to 22% of online job postings are ghost jobs. This means that for every job application submitted, one is likely destined for a phantom opportunity. These misleading listings are not confined to obscure corners of the internet. They are increasingly appearing on reputable job boards, company websites, and even professional networking platforms. This proliferation makes it infuriatingly difficult for job seekers to differentiate between genuine opportunities and these phantom openings. The reasons behind this surge in ghost jobs are multifaceted, ranging from corporate vanity to more strategic, albeit questionable, recruitment tactics. Understanding these motivations is crucial in addressing the root causes of this infuriating and growing problem. The motivations behind posting ghost jobs are as infuriating as the companies that engage in this deceitful practice. Some organizations, particularly those in cutthroat industries, may post ghost jobs to create a false illusion of growth and expansion. By fabricating a facade of constant hiring, these companies aim to project an image of success and stability, even if the reality is far from it.
Kind of like a
Others
false turnover rate.
By posting listings for specialized
Yeah, man, like a false turnover rate. Exactly.
roles, even if there isn't an immediate opening, companies can gauge the available talent pool and identify potential candidates for future opportunities. While this tactic might seem less egregious than outright fabrication, it still raises serious ethical concerns about transparency and the blatant exploitation of job seekers' time and effort. Some companies may post ghost jobs to manipulate market conditions and salary trends. By observing the applications received for these phantom listings, companies can gather valuable data about competitor offerings and adjust their own compensation packages accordingly. This practice, while providing some strategic value, ultimately contributes to a toxic culture of distrust and deception within the job market. Perhaps the most appalling motivation behind ghost jobs is the desire to intimidate current employees. A recent survey by Resume Builder found that a significant percentage of hiring managers admitted to posting fake job listings to create a sense of job insecurity among their existing workforce. This tactic, aimed at suppressing salary expectations and discouraging employee turnover, is a blatant example of how ghost jobs can be weaponized against workers. The emotional and financial toll that ghost jobs inflict on job seekers is devastating. Imagine pouring hours into crafting the perfect resume and cover letter, meticulously tailoring your experience to the specific requirements of the job description, only to be met with infuriating radio silence. This disheartening experience, repeated multiple times, can erode even the most resilient job seekers' confidence and motivation. For many, the job search process is already fraught with anxiety and uncertainty. Ghost jobs exacerbate these feelings, leading to intense frustration, self-doubt, and a sense of hopelessness. Wasted on pursuing these phantom opportunities could be better spent on networking, skill development, or pursuing genuine job leads. Beyond the emotional impact, ghost jobs can also have severe financial consequences for job seekers. Those who are unemployed may be forced to delay essential expenses or dip into savings while pursuing these non-existent opportunities. The time spent chasing after ghost jobs could have been dedicated to freelance work or part-time employment, further exacerbating the financial strain. The prevalence of ghost jobs undermines the integrity of the job market, eroding trust between employers and job seekers. It creates a climate of skepticism and cynicism, making it increasingly challenging for genuine companies with legitimate hiring needs to attract top talent.
That actually made me think of something. So, like, one of the biggest downsides I've seen regarding this topic is, like, you see a bunch of jobs saying, hey, you need XYZ cert. You go spend a bunch of money, take a cert and get it, and then, oh, job's not there.
Right. Messed up. Right?
Well, that's just a matter of, proper planning. A lot of times I've come up against this, and what I will do is I will say I'm in the process of getting that cert. I'll be taking the exam
Likewise.
in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I always say
that. that gets you through. And they're like, oh, so we don't have to pay for it? That's great. Boing, 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 boing. And, then you find out later whether or not you get the job. You haven't spent, your rent money on a cert.
Yep.
And then in some cases, if you're really lucky, they have a baseline cert, like you must have Sec Plus as a minimum. And as long as you have Sec Plus, they don't care if you have anything else. I mean, they want you to work towards it, but as long as you have their bare minimum cert requirement. A lot of .gov work is Sec Plus or better.
In my case, it's always OSCP or equivalent. And I'm always like, well, I've done the OSCP. I don't have it, but I have all the equivalents.
I like playing with the recruiters. It's like, I don't have a OSCP, but I have a YMCA and I have a KMFDM. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, well, that's just as good. Okay, yeah, we'll give you an interview.
I have an FMDMK. Yeah.
I am PEPCAC certified.
I'm certified in SOC 42069.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, I subscribe to.
Are you SOC 2.0? No, I know what I'm doing. You know, I still maintain the way to make money in this industry is to open a certification house.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, I was thinking the same shit. It's like those who can do, those who can't teach, and those who can't teach, open learning platforms for those who can teach to put out content on, and then they scrape up the money from it.
It's like you go online, you find a Microsoft certified trainer, you throw $1,000 or $2,000 at them. You go out to the strip mall, you know, next to the donut shop and the bagel shop, and in between the two, you put up a search shop, and you get everybody to pay $3,000 every 2 weeks. And you know, you wonder why they give you free Coke and free lunch, because they can afford it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, your rent is going to be, you know, what, maybe $1,500 a month, $1,000 for the instructor, another $500 for miscellanea, another couple hundred to get some pre-made sandwiches, and you know, a couple of cases of Coke from Costco. And these people will line up at the door, 20, 30 students at $3,000 a head every 2 weeks. You know, you'll be living on a golf course.
Pretty much.
Ponzi would have been proud of that, you know.
Or ghosted after actually doing a job interview, which is a 9-point increase since April of 2024. 2/3 of historically underrepresented job seekers in the U.S. experience post-interview ghosting, compared to 59% of white candidates. 3/4 of Germans have been ghosted, and in the UK, 61%, or 71%, depending on if you're an underrepresented candidate. That's kind of crazy, man. People are always talking about how great the job market is outside of InfoSec. InfoSec, everybody's like, dude, have you heard what's happening? Dude, at this conference, I had somebody reach out to me. They're like, hey, I'm noticing a trend. Have you noticed any managers, specifically middle managers, being laid off and then their teams being managed by AI? I'm like, no, I haven't heard of that before. Apparently that's a thing. They have AI managers now who are managing actual teams at companies.
Well,
short that company.
You know, it might be a cost savings considering some of the managers I've dealt with over the years. I mean, dudes on vacation. Dudes are like on vacation 2/3 of the year somehow, and like barely managing a team, yet still making like 3 times what I make. It's like a little sus. I think there's a definite need for VCSOs to replace a lot of CISOs. I know a lot of CISOs are gone a lot of the time. They're not actually even working, or they're out at conferences, which arguably is a good use of your time to learn shit. But, dude, if you're not like at the job, what the hell? Why not just hire somebody who can do it for 1/3 of the time, for 1/3 of the money, and just have a VCSO? You know, if you're only going to be having somebody work 10 hours a week.
I really do like the idea of VCSOs. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, we got friends who do that shit too. Like Rob was on the cast. We did the rise of VCSOs, and he does good work. Dude, we pen tested his network, man. We saw he did a great freaking job. Knows his shit.
Yeah.
Where candidates have encountered spam and scam listings, the majority of them in the U.S. Not surprising, man. UK also coming up there pretty close, and Germany after. And like, importance of DEI policies to job seekers. Apparently, it's very important in the U.S. and the UK. Less important in Germany. Arguably, this study came out before the recent political changes, but yeah, very interesting statistics here. Top discriminatory and biased interview questions. So it seems that 64% of candidates have been asked a discriminatory or biased question.
I'd be really interested to see a resume from each group.
Yeah, man. There was one a while back related to more DEI where there was this dude with a very African name. Like, if you look at the dude's name, you'd be like, that person is from Africa. And he kept the same resume, but change the name to like John Smith, like something generic white man. And all of a sudden, you got all these freaking interviews. So, like, there's definitely discrimination based on things like race, gender, sex, age, isms. But, it's kind of bullshit, but it happens. Over half of U.S. candidates say a hiring manager has mispronounced their name. Arguably, some people have names. So, like my last name, I get Treza, Trezor, Treza. It's very rare somebody gets Treza on the first try.
Especially when you misspell your last name.
Hey, that was one time. And one time, man. And it was pretty funny, too, because it was for a reference for you. It's like, yeah, it looks like it's your mistake, if anything. I'm happy you still got the job. I gave you a glowing freaking reference.
Appreciate it.
In the U.S., historically underrepresented candidates are more likely to experience this than white candidates. That's interesting. And we got this one. Roughly 60% of U.S., UK, and German workers say AI makes the job market more competitive. Recruiters' workload increased to 588 applications from a 26% increase over quarter 3 of 2023. So essentially having AI tools that can help maybe insert things that you have in your job listing that might be missing from somebody's resume into a new iteration of said resume makes it easier for people to modify their resumes to apply for new jobs.
It's so obvious when it's AI, though, and a lot of people are on the lookout for that. Like, when I see somebody's resume, I'm like, you used AI, didn't you? You got to give it a personal touch.
Dude, I humanize shit if I'm going to use AI. Like, there's tools to run that through that makes it sound more like somebody actual talking. Even on ChatGPT, there's humanization GPTs that make the output sound more human-like.
But does it sound like how you speak, how you normally type? That's the thing. It's got to be you.
Well, I mean, no, because I'm retarded. So, of course, it's not going to be retarded in there. It's going to sound better than that, but not so fake that you're going to be like, that's freaking AI.
Yeah.
3/5 of both UK and German candidates feel AI has intensified the search for job competition. 60% of Gen Z U.S. candidates say AI has made the job search more competitive compared to 58% of millennials. Because millennials are better at AI. As an elder millennial, represent.
Elder millennial. Jesus.
Yeah, dude, I was born 81.
Are we really that bad then?
43.
Are we really that far gone? We're elder millennials.
I am indeed an elder. You're Gen X, I think, there, Mr. Delch.
I'm 89, whatever that means.
I'm a Jerry Goth. Geriatric Goth.
Yes, you are.
Seriously, the thing, what's really sad is that you would think that Goths, of all people, right, would be more accepting of that. And a lot of times they're not. There was this one promoter. She was a real pain in the ass. She's blackmailing a friend of mine right now, which kind of pisses me off. But she had this whole rant, and she went on like, these old people in the goth clubs, they're toddling around on canes with full diapers and squatting around and making it horrible. Nobody should want to ever look at them. And I'm like, you know what? I can't wait for you to get about 20 years older.
Hey, what goes around comes around.
We'll leave lunch out of this.
The top areas U.S. candidates believe AI should be used are to screen basic qualifications, which is 28%, schedule interviews and send updates, 19%. Whereas in the UK, they believe AI should be used to analyze candidates alongside human recruiters, screen for basic qualifications, schedule interviews, and send updates.
The thing is, AI just isn't good enough to do that yet with any degree of hard accuracy.
Only 15% of U.S. and 13% of UK and German job seekers believe AI should not be used in the hiring process. Surprising, I think.
Yeah, but that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. That's like saying the phone shouldn't be used in the hiring process. It's a technology. It's out there. They're going to use it. I mean, really. How can you not use it?
There's this one AI company that their shit's really expensive, but it does the whole share your screen and give you feedback in real time thing.
Yep. Even voice.
Yeah, and people use that shit while on an interview, and it's listening to what they're being asked and it's displaying on screen in real time the correct answers to the questions so they can get the answer right for any of this shit. And they use it on coding challenges too, which is kind of gay. Excuse the language, but like, Jesus Christ, if you can't code, look, I am not a great coder. I've never been a great coder. I know how to code. I took C++, Java. Hell, I even took COBOL. That's how old my ass is. And like, I know how to code. And I don't claim to be a great coder. And
to be fair, we've had coders on this podcast talking about this. They can't pull shit out of their ass out of memory. And so they're going to Google stuff all day during their job.
That's BS, man. Dude, some of them, these interviews are like the freaking OSCP exam. They're asking you to set up like cameras looking at your screen and like from behind you. It's nonsense. Who the hell is going to do that for a freaking remote work job? This is not how life works.
Yeah, like even the best coder Googles all day like the rest of us.
Yeah, if you were block Stack Overflow, you'd see like a 40% drop in productivity.
Yeah.
That or you're using those crazy-ass coding tools that, like, complete the command line for you while you're typing it, or, you know, complete the line while you're typing it so you don't F up the syntax. What are those called? Like
IDE?
Or, yeah, like integrated development environment.
Yeah, IDEs, that's it.
Well,
and some of them are actually really cool.
Nano or like Emacs anymore, or at least some people are. Some people are. I take that back. But like the majority of people who are working nowadays in these jobs, at the very minimum, they're using Notepad plus to get the syntax right. But
Nano, you fucks.
Nano
VI, bitch.
Nano.
VI, Uber Realities.
Nah. Look, Nano, Emacs, or VI. Those are your choices. Everything else, brought up to that fight, can go F off.
And like maybe Vim, you know, VIM, if you're just starting out.
VI and Vim are the same fucking thing.
Nah, not exactly.
Dude,
there's some differences.
:WQ exclamation point to a fucking the thing. It's Vim.
To escape, you have to reboot.
Some of the features in VI that Vim has now. It's the same fucking thing. If you want to generate a random string of text, ask a Windows user to exit Vim, and you're gonna get every freaking combination of keys. Never the correct one. You use that to generate some entropy. Oh, look, Joe's like, call me out then. Vim, fucker. Look, Joe, you want to hop in here and talk about how you code in Vim? You're welcome to, man. You have me on Signal. I will shoot you the link. And you can tell us how you still code in Vim. And we'll make fun
Defend it. Defend the position.
Defend it.
Assume the position, what?
Dude, arguably, if you know the shortcut keys in Vim and you're really good at shit, you can get a lot done productive-wise. Like, there are dudes I've seen. They're like those freaking South Koreans at StarCraft with like 400 actions per minute. Like, but that, you know?
I just like the few times.
He says, I don't code, I fuck shit up. So that means you're a pen tester, right?
This is pretty much, that makes you a coder, actually.
I'm looking over files that I'm working on, and I forget that I'm using, like, sometimes I have to use Nano because it's in the environment. And it's like bang, Q, like 20 times. I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck, I'm using Nano.
Dude, weren't you the one today talking in our group chat about how they sent you a file to use in production and it had like a history dump in it of?
Oh God, don't even start. Oh my God, it was like the guy took his cursor, right, and then they used his mouse and highlighted all the text on the screen and then put it into a file.
Control.
And it had like command line shit and it had all this other shit in there, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put that into production. That'll be beautiful. People just don't believe in having production and test environments anymore. I think it's kind of weird, but you know. They got to save those pennies somehow.
Pasta to the wrong person thing in the past. I'd like to think that's what happened there, but who the heck knows? Some people are just that retarded. Send me a YAML file, and they send you an XML. It's like, this is how? No. It's like completely different. What's wrong with you? You ever fuck up a YAML file and had the spacing off and like try to figure that out because you put spaces instead of a tab somewhere?
Yeah.
Put it in a better text editor that's going to show you where you effed up. I've had that
with
happen.
Terraform.
That's why I don't use Vim, which is why I use Notepad++, because it'll highlight that stupidity with a big red squiggly line for me. Yeah. Also, I'm on Windows 90% of the time nowadays, unfortunately. I do miss the days of being able to run pure Linux all the time and not have to deal with all the Windows associated nonsense. Oh, Joe says, I am a self-taught sysadmin. I watch you guys to find my faults. Trust me, you'll find plenty of faults watching us.
You want a free pen test?
Right, next up in here, we've got how often candidates are asked for feedback after job interviews. Asked more than twice, asked more than once, never asked but open to providing feedback, never asked and not interested and can't recall. Surprisingly, the majority of them were never asked but open to providing it. You'd think after a interview, feedback would be a pretty common thing.
Dude, this is actually an interesting point because I interviewed with probably 85 people over the last year, and only one of them gave me feedback on my interview performance, and that was really enlightening. It was really cool, and I straight up thanked them. I didn't get the job, but I thanked them for the feedback. That was really cool.
Was the feedback actually real?
It was good.
Dude, I got feedback once from a company after going on, I think, 3 separate interviews from one of the dudes who I kind of connected with on the interview, but was not the main interviewer. And I'm like, so what are the odds of me getting this job? I reached out to him on LinkedIn, and he replied back, dude, it's not a real job. They're just putting it up there. Don't waste your time anymore.
At least he's being honest.
But he was not the main interviewer, and at least he was cool enough to let me know. But, like, I'd already wasted 3 lunchtimes interviewing with them, doing their fake coding challenge, and, like, just waste my time. At least that dude let me know.
Mm-hmm.
So next, the most important signals for U.S. candidates in a job search are jobs relevant to their skills and career goals, competitive compensation, and benefits and healthcare.
Okay, good. I'll be on a little bit, all right?
All right. I'll be here.
There's a mute button, Delche.
But he'll be here. Top 3 most important signals to candidates. It's about the same. So look, things that are important to people looking for a job. The job's relevant to your skills and your career goals. Timely communication and updates is pretty important too. Competitive compensation, obviously about half the people give a shit about that. Benefits and healthcare as well. You know, feeling valued by the hiring company doesn't really matter to too many. It seems that's like 16%. Quick hiring.
We just want the money.
Paid time off is big. I mean, who the hell doesn't want paid time off or remote/flexible work? At today's day and age, if you're working at InfoSec and you still have to go to an office every day, odds are your company might already be transitioning towards remote work. And like that can actually, while you think it might be a good thing, they might also figure out if they're going to have remote workers and they don't have any stipulations that that person needs to be in the U.S., they're going to outsource your damn job to India, even though you're the one going and busting your ass every day.
There's also a problem with that I've noticed where you go through like, I went to like interview number 3 and then they finally say, oh, sorry, this is a hybrid position. You have to go to the office 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm like, in New York? No, thank you. You should have put that in the freaking job description.
I've had ones where they're like travel up to 20%, and then when you actually get to the interview, the travel's more like 80%. It's like, you're gonna be on a plane like most of your life is with this job. It's crazy. Look, I'm willing to work remote. I'm willing to travel, but at the same time, be reasonable. Don't expect somebody to live on an airplane if they're not a sales engineer who needs to go set shit up everywhere.
or at least make it apparent in the job description before you apply.
Yeah. Next thing we got in this: how candidates globally approach the job search. So, top 3 most common methods to search for a job from U.S. workers is online job boards, 59%, mass applying at 38%, and reaching out to companies directly at 38%. I have seen AIs that specifically are for job searchers where it will scour the job boards on your behalf and apply to positions for you. These shits are not cheap, mind you. And you give it your base resume, and it will make the modifications for your resume on the fly and even write cover letters for each one of these jobs. That's insane that that's even a service that needs to be offered, because it's hard to get a job, man. It's always been a job to get a good job. Like, if you're just going to settle for the first thing that gets thrown at you, okay, whatever. But, like, if you're actively in the job hunting process, you should be, like, having a spreadsheet. You're tracking who you applied to and when you sent the follow-up letter, and the last communication you had. And, like, that should be a daily thing you're doing every day, keeping track of it.
Let me expand on that. So when you're applying for jobs, have a spreadsheet, and from top to bottom being the job you want the most. So use the ones like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Use those as practice and get built up. Get your resume, your interview skills built up to the job you really want. And expect most of them to say no.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of rejection, right? And you need to be resilient in that you can't take it personally. If you get rejected for a job you go out for and you don't get it, if they actually are a legit job, right, and they hire somebody else, you can't be all like, man, I thought I did so good, I was going to get it, and I didn't, and just, like, give up and let that affect you where you give a shit. Because if you do, you're going to have a really bad time eating away at your self-esteem for every rejection, and it's going to be really hard to get a job. You need to put that shit on a shelf. You're going to zip it up, put it, and compartmentalize it. And
take it to the shit store and
take it to the shit store and flush it down their toilet. But, like, whatever you got to do, don't let that get to you, man. Look, you're competing in a global arena now. You're not just competing for a job that's in your hometown amongst a bunch of candidates who are right there. You're competing with freaking everybody for these online jobs, especially at, like, a good company where they're offering remote work. It's not the same as if you are sitting at home looking on, like, one of these boards where you can, like, do a gig work job for a few hours and, like, make a little bit of money. You're talking about competition with people who are the best in the industry who have also been looking for something better. So you got to up your game, and you can't half-ass the applications either. Like freaking Sled said, they can tell when you're just using AI to do shit. You know, if you're going to apply and it's like a job you really want, like if I were applying to freaking Dave Kennedy's companies, like Trusted Sector Binary Defense Systems, dude, I would be putting my freaking heart and soul into that job application. Do my best.
And
every question.
Tailor your resume
right
to each job too.
And if I got a rejection, I would still then write a follow-up and thank them for, you know, letting me interview and, like, letting them know if they have an opening in the future, I'd be open to reapplying. Like, they remember that shit, especially the guys who are, like, in charge of hiring for, like, the good companies. Like top places I'd want to work are, like, Black Hills, man, or like Dave's companies, or, like, you know, there's a bunch of really good ones out there. And, like, it blows my mind that so many people apply for jobs and they're just using a generic resume that they use for everything and not tailoring it, and they think they're going to have good results. It's like, maybe if you're super, super freaking impressive and you've got, like, really good credentials where they're transferable skills that can apply to everything, you don't need to spend the time to cater your resume to every job. Arguably, you should be doing that if you're not, like, the top of the top in your industry, or, like, sought out actively by people instead of, you know, being the one.
And also, like, after every interview, no matter how it goes, tell them thank you for the opportunity. And then going back to the feedback, the one that I got feedback on, they actually told me why I didn't get hired. They straight up said they hired a junior instead of me because they couldn't afford it.
And
I was like, okay, fair enough.
dude, I've gotten all the way up to the top round of interviews back when I was actively looking. And then they tell me, like, well, what's your salary requirement? I'm like, you should have asked that in the first round before, like, wasting 4 fucking lunch periods. And they're like, the job pays $79,000 a year. I'm like, why would I take a job that makes that if I'm making 170? You know,
I'm like, I'm worth 140 to 200, somewhere around there.
arguably, you and I, like, between the two of us, have like 30 plus years of industry experience. We should be making that kind of money all the time. Like, you and I will take a pen test and make less money than we make hourly at our job because we like doing said pen test. It's arguably fun for us. It's like our passion. But like, most guys who are good at this shit ain't gonna take what we make. They're gonna take more money, or better yet, they're the smart motherfuckers who start companies that do this, that pay idiots like us, and we white label our shit for them, and they get to take 60% and do all the work, and they just get to put their logo on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the industry. I mean, it'll change eventually if people call it out, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
I mean, that's kind of what I've been doing, is white label stuff.
Yeah, it's what we've both been doing for a while, and it's why we both started our own company, and we're trying to cut that shit out. Like, when I toss you work, I pay you the majority of what I make, and you probably do the same. I've noticed, like, you know, with the fishing stuff, you pay people very well for what they did. And like, I argue if you even had any money left over for yourself, is like,
not much.
exactly. It's like, what the hell? So 2 in every 5 U.S. workers believe they'll receive a job offer in less than 30 days.
So hold on, let's go back to that point. The pay thing. Drew told me something that kind of resonated of how he treats employees. Put them before yourself when you're in that kind of position.
Agreed. Dude, I pay my testers before I pay myself, and sometimes there's not anything left over for me. Same thing with you, man. I've seen, like, when I work with you, I see when you have overrun and you, like, spend more than you actually budgeted for and end up just not paying yourself, but making sure your guys get taken care of. That's fucking admirable. That's what people should do in this industry. You put other people before yourself because it's a service industry. You know, a lot of the big companies that do this shit, BlackBerry, you know, like freaking, I don't know, any large company that offers pen testing amongst their other various services, they ain't paying their testers well. They're getting the guy who's cheapest to do it, arguably not even the most qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bullshit. Anyhow, how candidates globally approach the job search. 3 most common methods include nobody cares about that. We were over here. How long does it take? How long do you expect it's going to take to get a job versus from an initial application to offer? Most think versus how long it is. So less than 30 days, most people think it's going to take. Some people think it'll take 30 to 60, some 60 to 90. Very few, only 9% think it will take 90 days or longer. Now, from experience, how long does it actually take, though?
Last year, it took all year.
And arguably, you've got a very in-demand skill set. Delchai has been looking for a freaking job for like a year, working for somebody he'd rather not work for. You know, is like, there are people with really good skills looking for work. The people who are hiring arguably aren't hiring them. They're hiring people who are new at this so they can pay them less. And in our industry where it's becoming more and more okay to sell a VA as a pen test, arguably you don't need people with our skills if you just don't want to know what's actually wrong. If you want to just go, la, 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 I filled out the form and I did a pen test and it says I'm all good. Yeah. If you want to actually know, like, how a hacker would get into your shit, you got to hire one of the companies that actually knows how to do it, not just some idiot who graduated college and is now called a pen tester, but only knows how to run scans and then aggregate a NESA scan and a burp scan into a freaking report for you without actually knowing how to test any of that crap.
But to that point, though, last year, nobody was hiring at all. I started getting blown up in the last 4 months.
Arguably,
so it's
the market has
been crazy
better the past 4 months. Whether that's due to political shit or other shit, who the hell knows? But it's cool. that we're getting back into a market that at least seems to be hiring. I've been hit up on LinkedIn and my Gmail from randos hiring for all sorts of positions all across the country. Like one dude hit me up for a sysadmin job in like a place I lived 9 years ago. And like arguably 9 years ago, I might have taken a sysadmin job for what that pays. But looking at the pay rate today and like how that would scale, I was like, who the hell, even today, is going to take like 30 grand a year to do a sysadmin job?
That's insulting. You could make more at McDonald's.
Right. It's like, dude, what are you doing? And I don't get like the balls of some of these places. If you're just out of college, maybe you would take that.
Call it an intern then at that point.
But like, dude, you can't live on that in New York. You can't live on that like even in the sticks of New York. So
that lasts you a week.
It's nuts. So lack of communication from companies and or recruiters is experienced by 40% of people looking for jobs. Lack of human interaction, 26%. Job descriptions with too many responsibilities seen by 26. Not enough job openings in the field seen by 39. Deltray, how has your job search been? What would you say of these things is the most frequent thing you see? You see, I know he's off in the meme group making memes right now. And there's a cat in there, so I know he's not paying attention in here.
We need to make a meme about him.
It's like the class teacher calls on you when you're on your phone, and it's like, the improvements the U.S. candidates want to see the most. So, 47% want better communication after applying. 42% want more effective ways to make their applications stand out. Those are pretty good things to want, I'd argue. Dude, if I apply for a job and I think I nailed it in terms of like the application and I meet all their requirements, and then I don't hear back from them, I'm like, what the hell did I do wrong? So some communication would be nice. Like we just hired somebody, we forgot to close the job listing, or anything really. Like they don't freaking communicate very well at all.
When they do, it's awesome. I love it and I thank them for it.
Same, dude. I've had some good ones over the years. Greenhouse is the leading hiring platform with 25. Yeah, I've done applications on Greenhouse. It's come up quite a bit when I'm doing job search shit. There was also a plugin I was using for a while that would pre-populate a lot of the job application crap. Arguably, I did do my due diligence, making sure that shit's safe as it could be, and it does have access to read from all sites, so I only enabled it when I was going to job hunt sites to actually fill them out and kept it disabled otherwise. But there's cool ways of automating this outside of the paid stuff, you know? Automation is key, man. The more you can do, the better, but you don't want to come off sounding like AI, I'd argue nowadays. It's very competitive in the job market, so being able to compete at a big level without getting to the point where you're just using AI to do everything is probably the way to go. A little balance, you know, between the two.
It saves time, but at the end of the day, you got to give it your own personal touch.
Yeah, man. And I think that's pretty much it for this freaking cast. I mean, I don't really have anything else to talk about this week, unless you want to go over the InfoSec news real quick, and then we can call it quits.
Yeah, we can dive in a little bit.
Sure. So go to This Week in Security. And we thank Zach Whitaker for putting this out promptly every Monday, meaning that it's only been out for like a day by when we cover it. So fresh off the press and ready for consumption. So let's go over here. All right. So whenever I do go here, I go past issues, right? This is the first thing I do. And then I wait a sec for the damn page to load. Normally it doesn't take this long. And then you go back here and hit it again. Hope that it takes again, and then share that tab. And then 2.9. So today's the 10th, so it just came out yesterday. All right, first one. Elon Musk's takeover of the U.S. government exposes millions of people's data.
Hang on.
Go ahead.
Share your screen.
I thought I was.
Wrong screen. There you go.
Thank you. So first one's a little political. So We start this week with a 5-alarm fire across Washington, D.C. as Elon Musk and his band of teenagers/lackeys are very well and truly in government, literally plugging into sensitive systems across the U.S. federal government despite their highly questionable clearances. It's hard to keep up with the pace at which Elon's so-called Doge took over Treasury payment systems that dispersed $6 trillion in federal payments and obtained access to HR records of federal workers in OPM in what essentially is the biggest compromise of U.S. government data as well ever. Yada, yada, yada. Federal government blocked Doge from accessing following a multi-state-led lawsuit, but it was too late. Damage is already done. Wired reporting has been incredible. Yada, 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 yada.
Skip.
Next we have a meme. U.S. federal sysadmins, Doge staff with domain admin, and then they're tossing them out, and then they're right back in. This is actually a good meme. U.S. intelligence, cyber agency staffers offered deferred resignations. So this has happened even to those flight control guys, the air traffic controllers. Like a lot of government agencies have gotten these letters from everybody, like on staff, telling them like if they leave now, they vacate their position, they get like 8 months of pay, and then that's like their severance. And it's hit the NSA, the CIA, CISA, all of them being deferred resignation. Like that's a lot, man. Is like your job really doesn't mean that much. Get the hell out of here. Now, arguably. There is definitely some room to trim the fat, but God, that's freaking a lot.
It's like I have a lot to say about it, but I'll keep that for another space. But
political.
All I can really say with this one publicly is buckle up, Buttercup. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Italy says dozens of EU citizens are targeted with Paragon spyware. So let's shift the gears to something a little lighter. Come on. Okay, here we go. Nation-state spyware time. Looks like Italy's in hot water after several people, all of whom, in some way, critics are under the watch of the Italian government, were identified as having been targeted by the Israeli spyware Paragon. WhatsApp disclosed the campaign last week, revealing Paragon spyware, known as Graphite, was used to target about 90 people, including journalists. Paragon later cut off Italy from its spyware after the Italian government said it absolutely wasn't them who did the spying, but instead alluded to dozens of other countries who were spied on, including Australia, Denmark, Germany, that's Spain and Greece, apparently. Essentially pointing the blame at one of them, some of which are known customers of said spyware maker. But who was it? Who knows? What we do know is that Paragon confirmed this week the U.S. government is indeed a customer. So we'll see what comes next, and all eyes are on that story.
I just pinged Ben saying we should add Paragon to the attribution dice.
Oh, yes. Paragon spyware. Next, UK orders Apple to let it spy on users of encrypted accounts. Oh, I also got 3 of the backdoors and breaches, along with the D20 that goes with them at this con. To give to you next time I see you.
They have a D20 for backdoors and breaches?
Yep, it's a D20, not a D12.
Yep. I've fallen afoul of that die more than once.
Rolled a nat 1, huh?
Believe me. Oh, your IDS just failed.
What?
You ever roll like a 1 in backdoors and breaches, and they go, "Oh, your IDS just failed. It just crashed. Who knows why, but it just did." It's like,
Yes, indeed. We should definitely do something more Cards Against Humanity and InfoSec for our crap. And somehow work.
Hackers, dude, Hackers Against Humanity is freaking awesome. I love it.
Thanks for saying the name out loud before we did it, so somebody else can steal it, you shitbrick.
No, it's already a thing. You just go buy it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I feel like that was a real thing already.
Yeah.
What we're going to do with ours. Oh, that sucks. Somebody beat me to it. Sorry, but it looks like we're dusting off another iteration of Crypto Wars. This time, the British edition. So, as a Brit, this dude's taking it seriously. Last year, the UK government essentially ordered Apple, by way of Snoopers Charter Surveillance Law, to grant UK authorities access to protected cloud backups around the world, regardless of what country they're in, setting a really, really dangerous precedent. And it's not like Apple will allow access, since Apple cloud backups are encrypted and only the user can unlock them, and would more than likely stop offering the service in said country, known as advanced data protection. This is not a good look from the relatively new UK government. The Labour Party has been hell-bent on security for years, and clearly this is no different. So China, just like any authoritarian country, can now demand the same access by saying, well, UK did it, why can't we? So how would you feel about some random in China being able to request access to your iCloud data and get a copy of it, which would also likely have all your passwords in it? I mean, if the law says they have access, right?
That comes back down to a conversation we had a few weeks ago where it's like, should we have an internet border? But at that point, it's like, it's complicated. Like, how do you prevent people from seeing your stuff that you don't want to?
You reduce your threat surface. You don't give access more than you need to. You go by least privileged, and you make people re-authenticate to freaking everything when they're switching between services. So just because you're authenticated to one thing doesn't mean you don't need to re-authenticate when accessing the other thing. And that can be done transparently, right? It doesn't mean you have to type your password in every time. You can do it with a token. You can do it all sorts of cool ways. But it should not be that just because I'm in System A, I should automatically be able to access System B. That's why we have zero trust.
Right. I'm talking about like on a larger scale, right?
Yeah.
Log into XYZ, or I don't know, we could use WhatsApp or something as an example.
Of what not to do?
And China's got fingers into it.
So
the idea behind our last conversation was, how do we prevent China from doing that without completely killing the service, without doing like a Great Firewall of China or whatever they got?
Well, we start having apps that have responsibly managed encryption, meaning that we're going to give the key to the U.S. government to decrypt it if they want to.
Yeah,
Any other government where they want to have that app in the country from requesting the same, right? And not all governments are created equal. So we have some countries with governments that are very adversarial to ours. Governments we're actively in trade wars with. So if China can be like, hey, I would like to see all the Telegram messages for CISO at company who's got the plans for a competing product that we'd like to mass produce, and they do the majority of their communications over Telegram intercompany, guess what? China now has access to your plans that you uploaded to Telegram.
Mm-hmm.
And Telegram's just an example. Could be Slack. Could be anything else that you use.
TikTok.
Well, TikTok arguably is just retarded and should not be used. But,
yeah.
Dude, remember in the early days of TikTok when that shit first came out, all their ads were just underage girls dancing sluttily?
I've never logged into it. I can honestly say that with a straight face.
I have logged into it in a very isolated system. Not for that reason, mind you, but like, Jesus Christ, their algorithm is good. I'll give them that. They know how to target you based on what you're looking at very quickly and get you into your own little bubble. And they track how long you look at each thing, even if you're not like clicking I like this or whatnot. They have a good algorithm. I give them that. They developed it for Red Note and moved it over to TikTok. Works well. But it's dangerous outside of the automated influence operations where they get us to fight with each other and start shit and do stupid challenges where kids eat Tide Pods. Like, outside of that, there is a real and present danger to that particular system, as well as Discord, arguably.
A lot of people would argue that it's used for a lot of psyops.
That's the automated influence operations. That's psyops. Same shit. It's pretty much automating So you want to cause division in your country of choice, just like it would say to do so in the CIA book of clandestine operations, right?
Not like we've ever done
You
that
want to sow
before.
some chaos in a foreign country. You want to cause division and people fighting each other, right? How do you do that? Well, if you start popping them with some propaganda about things that are sucky in their own country and blow it way out of proportion, and you get people engaging with that and spreading it, and then program your algorithm to look for said similar things and push that as well, but also mix it in with things that people really want to see. So they're getting their dopamine fix and they're already freaking retarded and they're swiping and swiping and doom scrolling. Next thing you know, they come across some propaganda, but it's by one of the same people who makes the other content they like. And guess what? It doesn't matter if an article is true or not. Most people believe the first news source they hear on any given topic, whether that's a legitimate news source, whatever that is anymore, or some rando who's got a YouTube channel. If you hear the story from them first, even when you're faced with evidence to the contrary or there's a retraction, most people, they still remember and just believe the first thing they heard. So
usually the news story is true. It's just the take on it that they hear.
So you look at all the dudes who are like, this YouTube video is sponsored by Ground News, where? And then they have their referral code and they make some money off that bullshit when people buy it. They have a section in there that's called like the middle or some shit like that. Like they have how each one is covered. So you have like your left-wing bias, your right-wing bias, and then the stories that neither side is really picking up on. They call it like, I forget what, the middle, some shit like that. And like, that's kind of cool, although it's behind a paywall. Arguably, you can do your own research on the bias of any given organization, if they're more likely to promote a story left or right, or if center, like very few center, arguably. But removing the bias from journalism is something that's going to be really hard, because ever since Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, his Hunter S. Thompson started this whole gonzo journalism shit, reporters feel it's okay to insert themselves into the story, and they feel that their opinion on something matters. If I want news, I want it to be written by somebody who actually studied what journalism really is, not this gonzo journalism.
I want news, not your opinion.
Reports the facts without their take on it, their conclusion. Just give me the facts, man. Just like Dragnet. Just the facts, man. Just the facts. That's all I want. I don't want your take on it. I don't want your bullshit. I don't want people like reading me the news on YouTube and giving me their own personal opinion. I just want the facts. Tell me what happened, where it happened, the 5 W's and the why. You know, who, what, when, where, why, and how.
Not to get super political, but that is why CNN is tanking.
Dude, everything's tanking, and they're all jumping into the same trap, whether it's on the left or the right. They want clickbait articles. They want eye grabbers. They don't want content that the people who actually would be engaging in their platforms genuinely want. They're trying to attract new people, and then the people who are their core demographic are feeling alienated and just leaving and going elsewhere to get their news. And it's fucked, but it is what it is. The whole industry's fucking dying, man. They're like, you can't get a paper newspaper for like less than $4 now. It used to be like 50 cents.
Good God.
The ad revenue that used to go into making that and offsetting the cost is going online ads, so it costs more for them to print it. And it is what it is. Print media is going the way of the dinosaur. And arguably, it's not a very good thing. Because what's important to somebody in Georgia might be very different than somebody in Oregon or Nebraska, right?
Yep.
There could be some common things, but you can't have hyper-local news. And we get these big media conglomerates, man, and they all just parrot the same bullshit they're told to tell you. Like, it's kind of crazy what's happened to our media, especially like online and on TV.
Some of the mashups are hilarious. Like, you've seen those videos of every news station saying exactly word for word like they were given a script.
It's a threat to democracy. Is like they all say it. There's the same reporter in 50 different states. Sorry, scratch that. Reverse it. 50 different states, different reporters, all reading the same copy for a story. And oftentimes, it's supposed to be a local story about something that happened there when it's not. It is bullshit. They literally just swap out the name of a town. And it's not something that's even happening because they're getting paid. And it's part of their contract to run these stupid freaking stories if they want to be part of this network. And if they don't, so some try to like play games. Like they'll put it on at like 2 a.m. So they're technically complying. Most of them just are,
And then when they're wrong, they'll go back and change the website or the actual article, but not tell you that they made a change.
Right, dude. You're supposed to, if you're going to issue a retraction, you're supposed to actually issue a retraction, not just edit the original article like you had it right the whole time. That's deceptive. And it could also lead to somebody quoting your article and then you changing it and then them looking like the asshole.
Yep.
And way back
turns into a shit show.
Things like that. There's academic versions of like Wayback Machine that if you're quoting your shit in an academic paper, you can screen cap essentially the page as it is in time, just like archive.is does. But it's just for people. It's like, so when you quote your paper, it can show people the screenshot of the page at that time in case the other ones aren't working. Kind of cool, man. I came across that today.
Interesting.
Yeah. Law enforcement hammered cybercrime in 2024 with ransom payments down. So new data and analysis this week shows the cybercrime industry was hit by several law enforcement actions over the past year, including Lockbit's takedown, arrests in the calm where cybercrime meets physical violence, and other cybercrime forums, hobbling the biggest criminal operations in recent years. Plus, per chain analysis, data shows that while more victims were targeted by ransomware, fewer corporate victims actually paid, though some did, like Sencorda's $75 million to hackers and that particular casino that was not MGM that paid when they got breached. On the government side, Bloomberg reports DHS cyber cops stopped at least 500 ransomware attacks. I did not know DHS had cyber cops, honestly, until this little blurb here. Department of Homeland Security has cyber cops. Who the hell knew that?
Operation Kronos. Interesting.
Yeah. Android bugs, including an actively exploited flaw, were fixed. Google has fixed dozens of flaws, including CVE 2024-53104, which Google says is under active exploitation. Specific details weren't given about how exactly, but Google said the bug could result in physical escalation of privileges, and based on that, it's likely the bug was used by law enforcement-capable mobile forensic devices such as Celebrite or the like to unlock some phones protected by a passcode.
What else is new?
Dude, I want to get one of those Celebrite machines and just have it try to pop like phones that are not really there to record everything it's doing. Like, give it a dummy device to pop, like something that can intercept USB, like do a PCAP over USB, like Wireshark now can, if you have the right cables, and just intercept that shit and see and like get all their freaking exploits and just put it out publicly. That'd be freaking hilarious. We should do that. That should be our project. One of us needs to find a Celebrite machine on eBay, and the other one needs to come up with the ability to intercept the USB properly so that we can see the comm data and just like fake devices on it, and then watch it try and pop fake devices. And
whoever finds one on the side of the road that fell off the back of a truck first.
Contact us at CounterSurveil Podcast. So we will be very happy to take that off your hands. And we'll also provide you with any said data we get off the machine. Grubhub delivers hot, fresh data breaches. So the U.S. food delivery giant Grubhub said hackers accessed the personal data of its customers and drivers after breaching internal systems, which is traced to one of the third-party vendors. Question: why are you giving your third-party vendors access to your personal details of your customers and drivers, huh? Why do they need that?
Money. Money.
It's almost like Snowflake, where we have these freaking companies using a data lake intentionally designed to reshare data that should be kept within the company to third parties so that they can spam people and advertise to them. I mean, Snowflake, arguably, their whole business model was effed in the first place, so whoever hacked them, kudos to you. But, like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you giving third-party vendors access to your shit?
I suspect they're doing it for promotion, like promotional reasons. Like, hey, here's a text, here's a discount code or something.
I get that, but why would you? Even if you're using one of those platforms where you want to send an email message to all your people, The only data that should be in that should be the email, the first and last name. They're saying that the personal data of their customers and drivers were breached due to internal systems being accessed by a third-party vendor illicitly. If that's the case, said third-party vendor should not have had access, including names, email, phone numbers, and last four of a credit card number. Is that too much data to be giving a third-party vendor? Just give me emails and names, if anything.
And now the nerd in me is like, was that even encrypted at all?
Probably not. You know, you'd be surprised if you don't have to comply with PCI or like any other major standard. A lot of companies don't encrypt shit in their databases. In fact, I've seen them make copies of production databases and not even use data masking, and then put that in a dev environment that's completely insecure because it's just dev data. It's the exact copy of your production database, but it's dev, so you don't need to protect it. It's retarded logic. Companies do it. Former Polish justice minister has been nabbed. Polish police arrested the country's former justice minister, alleging he allowed government funds to pay for spyware that was used to snoop on then opposition leaders. Poland's newish left-leaning government has been cleaning up from its past administration. See, sometimes there are consequences for bad actions, is the takeaway line you wrote there. Zixel says, replace routers hit by 0 days. So this is that router brand that they sold at Walmart that I used to rip on all the time about having more holes than the Swiss cheese. Jesus Christ. So this thing's in the news again. In extremely bad form. Router maker Zixel told customers they should replace routers affected by 2 0-day bugs that are under active exploitation because the affected devices are end of life. But they're still selling these devices today, even though they're end of life on Amazon.
Didn't Netgear pull some of their shit for a similar issue?
Netgear at least had the common decency to, if you registered it on their, like when you go to set up your device, they have a place where you can register the device and get the support emails and shit, and they'll tell you when there's a new firmware update. They use that mailing list to at least try to reach out to people, even though most people probably don't give their email to them anyway when they set it up, and like let them know, hey, your device is affected. Go try and fix this, or we alternately have a firmware update that may fix it, and there may be third-party firmware available that you can utilize that's not vulnerable to this. This company is just like, go buy a new router, man, even though they're still selling the routers that are affected.
Well, it only says 1,500, which, yeah, it's still bad, but it's not world-ending.
These are just the ones that are exposed on, like, Shodan, right, that they're able to, like, locate. I would argue there's a lot more of these out there that probably have a combination of this and other vulnerabilities that could be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
You know, but not everybody's dumb enough to expose their router interface to the internet, right? Most people are smart enough not to do that. Arguably 1,500 people who have this device were dumb enough to do that. But you combine like an LFI with this shit, like a local file include or an RFI or some kind of like other nonsense where you have a different port that's open and you can maybe do some DNS rebinding or some other cool shit where essentially you have the ability to access a web page within the internal network. And then you can use that in combination with this to then pop these devices that otherwise you wouldn't know are these devices.
I would assume, though, when you spin up this router, that the web interface is off by default. Or is that too much of hope?
You know, I am pretty sure, honestly, that the web interface is off by default on almost every router that's ever been made. Nobody is putting that on the WAN interface. What happens is people skip through the config, and maybe they want to access their router remotely, so they enable that little checkbox in some of them that says, like, forward the web interface over the WAN port so that you can access it remotely, or sometimes it'll just say, like, enable remote access without little much other shit being there.
Yep.
If you're going to do shit like you need to access your home router, don't ever forward the web port for that over the internet. That's retarded. If anything, go grab a freaking Cloudflare tunnel and lock it down some way. Whether it be you have to be within Cloudflare to access it from like your specific range, or authenticated through the Cloudflare proxy, where essentially you're downloading an agent to your machine that's going to securely connect to a network that can connect to that. And then it's never publicly exposed to the internet. There's a billion better ways to do this, and a lot of them are free.
Cloudflare tunnels and an OID solution, or an OpenID solution, or SSO.
Tailscale's good. The shit network Chuck pushed, where you get a free account on some zero trust thing. Like a while back, he did a bunch of videos on one of those where it's like pretty much Zscaler but free for like use of less than 100. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Like when Leper was doing his project, asking about advice, we gave him a whole bunch of these back in the chat history like months ago. I mean, there's arguably better ways of doing it than that, and people just don't know. I guess maybe like not everybody knows networking, knows cybersecurity. I guess. Next, HPE alarms victims of a Russian cyber attack. Hewlett-Packard Enterprise alerted victims of Russian government hack from 2023, allowed hackers to access mailbox data and other internal company data. Microsoft, whose cloud-hosted HPE mailbox data was hacked around the same time. Yeah. And the gift that keeps on giving, the Power School hack again, is affected thousands of people as well. So it was gone international as North Carolina's Attorney General investigates the Power School breach. The tech company confirmed at least 16,000 school kids in the UK also had their personal data stolen.
God.
On top of millions of kids across North America who had their personal data stolen. And they won't provide a number of affected kids, which is kind of messed up, and they should. And what is likely one of the biggest breaches of school data this year. I mean, this breach of school data is arguably bigger than when I got kicked out of school for hacking my school. Despite the company continuing to say very little, this is a big one, man. Like Lucky out there, we love Lucky. Lucky's doing some shit, not necessarily with the Power School hack, but with similar shitty school software that has been hacked and leaks data. Like he's actively writing people in the government and trying to make sure that this is getting taken care of the right way, and that they don't fall victim to the same kind of stupid shit. So good on Lucky for actually like doing some, I'd argue, activism work. If there's not a better way to phrase that.
It's hacktivism, right?
It's activism, maybe if it's 2012 and you're anonymous. I wouldn't say activism anymore.
That's fair.
The stuff we nowadays think of hacktivism is mostly just nonsense or fudge.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it's like a monetary incentivized hack that they pretend is politically motivated so that they can write it off as hacktivism and get that insurance company payout.
Right.
I don't think Anonymous is really around anymore, except for the ones that work for the feds. So, This Week in Security, my free weekly cybersecurity newsletter, supported entirely from donations. So look, go donate to Zach Whitaker if you can. Dude does great work, puts the shit out for free every week. 404 Media has some great friggin' articles. That's behind the damn paywall. This shit, all free. Go read it. Check it out. Support this motherfucker. He does good work. Want to kill it at 1:30? Well, no, because it's way past 1:30.
You saw that a little too late.
It can't be 1:30. 1:30 is like 9 hours ago.
No. I was saying an hour 30.
Oh, well, we're definitely past that.
Yeah, we're past that, so ignore that.
Yeah, we're still up to 2 hours, I guess. All right. So thank you for watching the CounterSurveil Podcast on Iron Geek's YouTube channel. We appreciate all of you. We do not take money for this shit. We just do it because we find it fun. So you can't donate to us, and we're not going to pump your product. But feel free to go donate to Zach Whitaker or Mark Rogers GoFundMe. That guy could definitely use some more physical therapy after that car crash, walking around with a broken neck for a week. And he is the head of security at DEF CON and a pretty good guy, that CJ. So either donate to him
now,
or this guy.
I like beer money too.
No beer money for you, not from this. We are beyond reproach. You can't give us money. You can give us crypto, though. Our wallet address is on the screen. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so if you like what we do, like I said, feel free to donate to these guys or don't. Enjoy the content. I hope you have a good rest of your day, everybody who is here. Also, am I a narwhal? 97-ish for sysadmins. Granted, I'm a sysadmin cybersecurity developer of robotic process automation. That's cool, Joe. Yes, you're a narwhal. And
what does 97-ish mean?
I don't know. Maybe Joe can clarify, but he's not going to probably have a chance to hit the end stream button. I'll ask him in private. We can send an update next week in our retractions section.
Yeah.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.